So we're about to cover upper body strengthening and conditioning for karate. So if you're a member of the dojo here, you're going to recognize a lot of what you see in the video. What I'm trying to do is to cover some specifics for that are going to help you. That are going to help your not only help you get stronger, but help your striking technique as well. So some things that I want to make sure that I cover really briefly. You're going to see me using several pieces of equipment. Primarily, we use rings. In the video, we also use resistance bands. So you're going to want to get yourself, if you don't have a good set of resistance bands, you're going to want to get some. I personally only get bands from Rogue. I've tried bands from other organizations, and their tensile strength tends to weaken over time. Rogue bands haven't done that. I have the same set that I've had for 2 years, and they still are doing great for me. So if you don't have a set of resistance bands, you're going to want to get some. You also want to maybe consider getting Olympic rings. Now, some people prefer TRX. If you're familiar with TRX, it's the straps with the handles. The thing I don't like about TRX is the fact that it's made to be easier. Just like a lot of gym machines are made to be easier, TRX was made to be easy. It was made to be utilized for masses of people because it's kind of hard to mess things up on a TRX. That incidentally is why the Army purchased thousands of them for the basic training like 10 years ago when TRX came out. Just a side note. But I don't like TRX because the little strap that holds the handles together, that's where your stability is. The power of Olympic rings is the fact that you have to stabilize unilaterally, okay? So, and you're getting a lot more core, at least I think, with Olympic rings. So you're going to see me using Olympic rings a lot. Keep in mind, it's a compound exercise. Compound meaning that you are using more than just your arm muscles. That's one of the reasons why I'm a big advocate for any kind of body weight, but suspended body weight like Olympic rings, that's all core. There's nothing you see me do in the video where I'm not using my core, and without core, your karate or whatever striking you're doing, or your grappling or your throws, it's just not going to be as efficient. So I'm kind of harping on that a little bit, but I think it's really important that, you know, if you're serious about what you're doing, you're going to want to find ways to strengthen your body. The other thing that we cover in the video is slow striking. So like if you're just starting to learn how to strike, or you're getting back to it, something I want you to keep in mind is friction. So friction is the only way that your bones will grow, your bone density. Keep in mind that your long bones, like the ones in your forearm, the ones in your humerus and your femur and your lower leg bones, it's called cancellous bone or spongy bone. It's full of holes. Now it's designed that way so that you have a little bit more flexibility. But the caveat is, when you're learning how to strike and all that, or you fall down, for example, on the cement, that's when your bones break. Okay, so for fighting, especially for arts like karate, you want stronger bone density so that you can hit harder and hit with more intensity. And the way that you do that is friction. So resistance training causes the pulling on the tendons where they insert in the bone. That's going to increase friction, which will increase bone density. So that's why any resistance training is good. But also striking objects, that friction that translates through the bone, say when you're punching a bag, that also causes increases in bone density, but you have to do it correctly, and that means you have to go slow. So there's a segment in the video where I talk about that and why it's important to go slow and not just start off and, you know, trying to punch a hole through the universe. That's how you end up hurting your wrists. You have little bones in your wrist. People often hurt when they're first starting striking. That's why people hurt their shoulders and everything else. So keep in mind that this is a lifelong process. So there's lots of ways to do resistance training. I'm just presenting some of the ones that we use mostly here at the dojo. Remember, if you ever have any questions, you can always reach out to me and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Hope you enjoy the video. Thanks a lot. Here you see me using a Thai kick with a resistance band. I'm twisting my hips to the same side that I'm kicking, and I'm getting a lot of obliques here, good balance work. Keep in mind, I'm grabbing somebody's head and bringing my knee up to their face. So this is using your Seiken punch against resistance. Don't try to go really fast. Instead, try to feel that pull against the resistance in your forearm. Be careful about trying to go up. If you try to punch up, you're going to do what I did and slap your head. So it's better off that you stay in the same plane and just use slow, steady movement. So here you see me practicing Hitike, or the grab. It's that grabbing move that you see in classic karate. One thing I want you to keep in mind is that you can pull a lot faster because we're practicing pulling somebody to us, pulling them into a punch, pulling them in for some type of grappling move, or to get them off balance. This is a full range ring push-up. So you see I'm going all the way down as far as I can go, and when I come all the way up, I'm trying to separate my shoulder blades there. Do these slowly, don't try to rep these out because you're going to get worn out really soon. The idea is, again, time under tension, so going as slow as you can. You can also see that I'm up on my toes, and this is just one way to do this. You can also do this from your knees. This is a progression from the last move. You can see I'm using a stability ball here. Again, a little bit harder, but I'm also using the same motion, keeping my elbows in and going as slow as I possibly can. This is a little harder. You're going to feel this in your core. Here you're going to see me doing two different types of exercises. This is a reverse shoulder fly. As I'm doing this, I'm on my heels and I'm arching my back, pushing my belly forward. You can't really see that in the video. I'm also doing full shoulder extension, which you will feel more in your posterior deltoid and in your triceps. Do these slow and controlled. You see I'm using slow movements on the way up and the way down. Don't let gravity do the work for you. Make your muscles do all the work. Here you see me doing a chest fly. The goal here is to keep your core as tight as you can, so don't let your belly sag. You can't really see that from the video. Use slow, consistent movement. We're going to be covering a series of pull-up progressions. That's about 60% on my arms and about 40% on my leg. I also am a big believer in band-assisted pull-ups. Pull-ups are great, not only for your lats and your biceps, but really when you do them correctly, you do them slow like you see me doing, so slow on the way up and slow on the way down. It's a good stabilizer, really good for grappling, really good for strengthening your punches. Just make sure you get full range and try to squeeze your shoulder blades at the very top. This is a high level exercise where you see me doing an L sit. Again, slow on the way up, slow on the way down. Very challenging to the core and your lats. So striking progressions, we're really trying to use steady, consistent movement. We're not trying to strike too hard at first. That will come later. This is a great way to start developing your punching power now, along with knuckle push-ups and other exercises. Notice I'm using slow, progressive movement, keeping my elbow down, working on form. Here I'm using shote. Now I'm moving on to the knife hand strike or shuto. Again, using good form, elbow down, really trying to hit where I should be hitting on my hand. Back fist, also using the first two knuckles, not really aiming for the back of the hand, but the first two knuckles. And finally, a reinforced block. And we're striking around the upper 1/3 of the forearm. This is just something that is supplemental to your training. I use a band for throws. Back in the old days, this was called throw the tree drill. So what you would do is you'd wrap your uniform belt against a tree, and you'd practice throws. Here you see me practicing the throw for seoi nage, trying to get a wide base when I do that. If you use a stronger band, you're going to feel that a little bit more in your core, especially your rectus abdominis and your obliques. Really just kind of working on form and footwork. Here are some supplemental exercises for the forearm. This is supination, so I'm using mainly the muscles in my forearm to turn my hand over. That's supination. Keeping my elbow in tight. Here's pronation. Should be keeping my wrist straight there. My wrist is bending a little bit. You want to try to keep it straight. Keep your elbow in. You're going to feel this in the lower part of your forearm. Keeping your arm straight again, working on flexion. Trying to keep your elbow as straight as you can. You're going to feel this in the flexors up by the elbow. Last but not least, working on a little bit of extension. Again, trying to keep your elbow straight. Sometimes I will remind myself by using my other hand. This is an exercise we use frequently here at the dojo. Take some resistance bands and work on your initial and then follow-up punch. Your initial punch, kizami, your follow-up punch, seiken. Really good for footwork and making sure that you're not bending over center, trying to ground in, as you saw me doing earlier in the video with resisted seiken punches. Just a reminder on basic blocks. Here's your basic down block. Remember, my other hand is pulling. I'm always pulling my opponent to me. So when you do your down block, don't do it with one hand. Both hands are usually involved in your blocks. With your middle block, remember we use shote, so we're doing a double block there, palm block, and then I'm using my forearm as well. Remember to keep it tight and inside your shoulder, just underneath your chin. It should never go above your shoulder. Your inside block or uchi, again, tight movement. We would do this a lot of times retreating. This is also a strike that we'll show a little bit later. Don't come outside the body like that. Stay inside and to protect your shoulder. Finally, the upper block. You want to come up and out and pop that out. That's to pop a punch away from your face. Don't roll. That's going to hurt your shoulder. Come straight up and out. Here you see a variation on basic blocks. This is obviously using blocks with dumbbells. I like to show beginners this because it forces you to use proper movement. So if you want to see if you're blocking with the right shoulder movement, the right body movement, this is one way to do that. These are just 15-pound weights. You don't need to go super heavy. But working through a set of these, you're going to see if your technique is correct or not. This is a variation on an old Okinawan training tool. It's called shishi. It's just a stick with a weight on the end of it. What I used was an old Weider dumbbell that I just shoved into a PVC pipe, but it does the same job. You can add weights to this. That's just a 5-pound weight. I usually use between 10 and 15 pounds for myself. The idea is you want to hold the stick flush, where you see I have mine, and holding your Kibadachi. It's just an old style training, but really great for forearm conditioning. This is another variation on old school karate strengthening. In Okinawa, they typically use jars that are filled with water or sand, sometimes rocks. But basically, you can kind of get the idea here. You're spreading your fingers out as far as you can with your wrists as straight as you can. You're going to feel this quite a bit in your forearms and in the middle of your hands after just a few minutes. These are just 15-pound weights. I have gone up as far as 20, but they're kind of hard to hang on to just because of the size after that. Here we have an example of how you can work on your blocks on your own. Now you do need something pretty hard. A punching bag may not work because punching bags tend to move. This is a stack of tires that we have with a bunch of wrestling mats. If you're coming to the dojo on a regular basis, you're familiar with this. But you want to, just like punching, you want to hit something hard with your blocks. Because remember, really your blocks are just another form of striking. As you can see, there's all kinds of variations I can use. It's a great workout. You don't want to do this right away if you're first learning how to do your blocks, just like the strikes. Start slow and work your way up to this kind of more explosive power. So in this last part of the video, we're going to show you some practical applications for your blocks. These are techniques that we use here at the dojo to work on our blocks a lot. As you can see, we're using the middle block, uchi here. Really no wind up for this. We're just trying to keep it in tight. Here's another practical application for that same block. This is one of the reasons why you want to hit hard things eventually. Think of all of your blocks as either some type of joint lock, or in this case, we're trying to dislocate the elbow. Here's an example of shote uke. So that's that short palm heel block. This is the same block we use in concert with the middle block. This is a great block for close-in fighting.
There it is.
Finally, this is an example of shuto uke. This is the double knife hand block that you see often in kata.
That's it.
A lot of styles teach big, broad blocks with this. We don't like to do that. It's just not practical. It's a whole lot more practical if you hold it, if you keep everything in your shoulders like we've been talking about. As you can see, the first hand is a parry and the second hand is a strike and then a grab. And then that can lead to all kinds of things. In this case, seiken punch.